James Farr here, live from Pasadena Media Studios. Get ready for more piercing and provocative. The Conversation Live starts now. And welcome to another episode of The Conversation Live. The Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. Today on The Conversation Live, we're going to have a critical and possibly uncomfortable conversation. For African American males, we'll tell you what you need to know how to survive contact with the police department. Also, we want to let you know what your rights are, what are the different types of contact that you may have with police, and truly, what is the reality of policing in America? Joining me today is a 10-year veteran, Milton White Jr. Before we bring Milton into the conversation, let's first check in and cue up the first clip, Jared. Let's let everybody know what your rights are, and Milton's favorite football player will lead us through this discussion.
San Francisco 49ers quarterback and activist Colin Kaepernick has been hosting Know Your Rights team boot camps at cities across the country.
How do we create an environment, create knowledge to better understand how to handle these interactions so we can make it home? We wanted to be able to give access not only to how to survive, but also how to thrive.
I need you to believe this with everything that you have in you. I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful.
What should you do if the police stop you on the street in the U.S.? Stay calm and don't argue. Keep your hands where police can see them. You have the right to remain silent. Say it out loud. Ask if you are being detained. If not, you are free to leave. If so, you have the right to find out why. You have the right to refuse consent to a search of your car, your home, or yourself, unless the police have a search warrant or suspect that your car contains evidence of a crime. But police can pat you down for weapons. Without a warrant, police cannot search your phone or confiscate footage, and you do have the right to film police in public. If you are arrested, you have the right to know why and the right to a lawyer, even a free one.
And welcome back. Today's going to be a little bit difficult, guys, and I'm just going to keep it 100 with you because we're going to look at some content and some videos of some incidents that for some may be very traumatizing. For me, it's actually a trigger. Just about 3 years ago this time, as many of us were glued to the television screen, things were on a constant loop. We saw many videos of individuals being killed in contact with the police. But today, my guest, as I said, Milton White, he's going to be in the seat, and he's not here representing any specific department, but I am going to warn you, some of this content that you're going to watch today is very violent and very graphic, but I want you to sit your young man down at home, your cousin, your nephew, someone in your life, and tell them so that they know this is something that may help save their lives. So let's take a look at this first piece.
The bracing new look at a fatal traffic stop that shocked the world.
He's gone.
It was the Facebook live stream that horrified a nation. Diamond Reynolds filming the aftermath of a shooting involving her boyfriend, Philando Castile, hit several times by a police officer in Minnesota.
So he's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know.
Now, police dash cam video released just this week.
Well, sir. Good. How are you?
Shedding new light on the moments leading up to that shooting.
You have your license and insurance?
That's when Castile reveals he has a gun, which he had a license to carry. About 40 seconds after approaching the car, Officer Geronimo Yanez opens fire.
Sir, I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
He fired a total of 7 rounds into the car. But what's not seen in either video is what Castile was actually reaching for.
Right there, and I told him to take his hands off of it. And then he had his grip a lot wider than a wallet.
Last week, a jury acquitted Yanez on charges of manslaughter and 2 counts of endangering Castile's girlfriend and her young child, who was in the back seat at the time of the shooting.
Welcome back. Milton, thank you, brother, for taking some time, out of your schedule and sitting down. We'll talk a little bit more about that incident. But first, I just kind of want to get a reaction, not so much from a law enforcement perspective, but just you as a human being. Your husband, your father,
yes,
your brother, and your brother. Is that as disturbing for you as it is for me watching?
First of all, thanks for having me. Absolutely. It's funny when a lot of these incidents would occur, and even to this day when things happen, people are sending me messages or send me inboxes and ask me how do I feel about them. The reality is I feel the same way you feel about them. Anytime there's a loss of life is tragic, regardless of the circumstances. And that's how I feel.
Okay. So one of the things we wanted to do is educate, because what you're doing in the community is you take your own time out of your own schedule, away from your family, a very beautiful family. Congratulations on the new baby girl.
Thank you.
But you've taken, kind of almost like a calling. You really want to educate. And so you've been doing these trainings in the community. You're going to be doing one, probably pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to kind of frame this up from our young people and just people in general knowing your rights. So I know there's 3 types of contacts with the police.
Correct.
There is consensual, there is investigatory, and then there's an arrest.
Correct.
Okay, so in this incident that we saw in the video, that was a investigatory.
Correct, otherwise known as a detention.
Detention.
Yeah.
So Mr. Castillo was on a traffic stop, and then things went south.
Correct.
Bad.
Correct.
How does all of this happen, man?
You know what? Anytime you're dealing with humans, anytime you're dealing with human nature, things like this can happen. Doesn't make it okay, doesn't make it right, but it happens. There's a myriad of reasons. It could be a lack of training. It could be how a person was raised, their upbringing, whatever lens they have and whatever lens they view others with. That can come from upbringing, that can come from what you've been told, what you've seen on the TV, what's been framed in the media. And so that's we treat people and we deal with others through our lens of our upbringing. That's my opinion.
Okay, so this wasn't a consensual stop.
No, it was not.
He was being detained for whatever reason, and so he was not free to go.
Correct.
Okay, so because I want to make sure that people understand the difference between those 3 areas, because you often hear young people say, I know my rights, I know my right, and we're gonna see some video a little bit later on of situations like that. So in a consensual stop, that's just me and you walking down the street talking.
Correct.
Right, we running each other. What's up, James? What's up, Milton?
Correct.
I can A, walk away.
Yep.
B, I cannot tell you anything.
Correct.
I can give you the finger and keep it pushing. I mean, just
if you choose to do that, yes. If you choose to do that, yes.
All right, but so in a detention, right? And I really want people to understand, what does that mean?
What escalates a consensual encounter to a detention is simply the words that are used can escalate that. So instead of saying, "Hey, James, can I talk to you?" I say, "James, come here," or "James, turn around." Those are me giving you orders. If I'm asking, "Hey, can I see your ID?" "Hey, can I talk to you?" That's consensual. You have a right to say no. "Hey, can I search you?" You have a right to say no. A detention, it's going to take, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in the training, it's reasonable suspicion, which means that I believe that a crime has occurred, is occurring, or will occur, and that you are in some way, form, or shape, form connected to that crime.
But what happens when somebody say, "Man, you just racial profiling"?
Right.
I mean, is there some merit to that, or?
So it's like this. Anytime, and when I was in the streets, you go and contact someone, I may have a reason to detain somebody, and they may feel like I don't. It doesn't change the fact that I do. And if they say that, like what you just said, like, "Oh, you're just doing it because of this or that," if that's what you believe, then that could be an issue. And that's something that, basically with a detention, you have to explain why you're detaining somebody. And if I can't explain that, then that's going to be an issue.
But a lot of times, because we see video now where officers are trying to put someone in handcuffs, and they, at least what we hear, and I'm sure this is what you guys are trained on, is for your safety and my safety. Now that person that you're detaining is like, "I don't want to be in handcuffs because I'm scared."
Who wants to be in handcuffs?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, at what point should an officer communicate to the person that they're detaining why they're being stopped? Is it during the handcuffing, before the handcuffing, after the handcuffing.
Right. So it's never cut and dry. But this is what I'll say, in my opinion. I think when feasible and when safe. So if in the beginning of our conversation, we're having a conversation like this, even if I have a reason to detain you, I can explain to you, I'm comfortable in this setting, I'm comfortable with your demeanor, with the atmosphere, with the energy that you're giving off, I'm comfortable enough to tell you. Now, if your fists are clenched, you MFing me and you look like you want to fight, I'm not going to be talking at that. That's not a good time to explain. Now, there still can be an avenue for me to explain that to you before it goes there. And one of the things that I try to do is exhaust everything before it goes there. And it usually works. Usually when an officer will tell someone or explain to someone why they're detained, they usually get it, but that's not the hard, fast rule.
Let me check in real quick. You're watching The Conversation Live. The Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. Today we're having a critical and uncomfortable conversation about knowing your rights and, really how to survive contact with the police. Joining me today is a 10-year veteran and a peace officer, Milton White Jr. And we're just kind of chopping it up about some different experiences and situations that we've seen popular throughout the social space. Back to school is coming up. Our kids will be returning to school in the next few weeks. And this next video could have, well, I'll let you guys decide. Jared, let's roll in this next video of a young man up in Northern California. And I want to get Milton's take on what went right, what went wrong, and what could have possibly been.
I am about to leave, but it's gonna
give
make
me
no
your
sense.
ID so that I can cite you.
I am not going to give you my ID because I did not do nothing wrong.
Officer.
Adam 11 from...
So you can go ahead and arrest me.
Adam
I don't care, bro.
Adam
You
one
cannot
from
arrest
Adam
me for riding on the sidewalk. Bro,
Okay,
no, this
I'm
don't make
telling
no
you right
sense.
Officer
now.
N. Martinez,
Your ID.
Merced Police.
Yes, you do.
I don't have to give you
Yes,
nothing.
you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Why? Man, bro.
This is what happens. This is what happens. This is what happens.
So one of the officers know me, so bro.
You need to give me your ID.
So excuse me.
You need to give me your ID.
Excuse me.
You need to give me your ID.
Okay. Hey, let her. Hey, it's good. I got it. Hey, I got it.
Are you in a
Don't touch me.
I got it, bro.
Give me your ID now.
Who do you
I got
think
it.
this is?
You need to give me your ID.
I got
You
it.
better get off me.
Hey.
Chill out. Chill out.
Give me your ID
Why are you
now.
touching me?
Hey, I got it. Hey, I got it on film, bro. It's all
Yeah, you
good.
got it on
It's all
film, so
good.
you
It's
better
all
not
good.
touch me. I didn't
It's all
touch you,
good.
so don't
Give me
touch
your
me.
ID now.
It's all good.
Yes, you
No,
are.
I'm not giving you nothing.
Give me
Bruh,
Hey.
get off me.
Give me your ID now.
What is you doing?
Put your hands behind
What
your
is you
back.
doing?
Put your hands behind your back.
Bruh.
Put your hands behind your back. Now.
You hear her talking to you?
Hey.
You hear her
Hey.
talking?
All right. Hey, no. Hey, chill.
I'm not doing nothing to you.
All right. It's all
Bruh,
good.
dude, stop fucking kicking me, bruh. You got me fucked up. I don't care.
Welcome back. Man, that could have went bad.
Yeah.
That could have gone really, really bad. Yeah. So in that situation, that was an investigatory, a detention, right?
Correct.
You cannot ride, whatever the code or whatever the statute, the young man cannot ride his bike on the sidewalk. I think it's petty, but
Right.
we could deal with that later on, right?
Right.
So in that situation, man, what should the young man have done? Because we really want to send this message to our young people.
Right.
What to do differently.
I think the big issue, well, one of the big issues in that video is the fact that he believes that he has the right to leave. And if you truly believe that, and you feel that you can leave, and you have an officer telling you that you cannot, then of course you're going to get angry. And I understand his anger, but he's wrong in this situation. The officer had her ticket book out. She was clearly trying to give him a ticket. Petty is the word you use. She was clearly trying to write the ticket, but he didn't want to allow her to do that. He wanted to keep going. What I think is, and the reason why, that actually is a perfect example of why I'm doing the training that I'm doing, because I believe all of that could have been mitigated if he understood, you know what, I can't leave right now. I have to get a ticket, whatever it is, what it is. And I think he would have been more so mad about that than being mad about feeling like he's being imprisoned or false imprisonment, someone keeping him from being able to move. And I think that would have prevented the situation from escalating. The more we understand our rights as citizens, the more comfortable we are in these contexts. We're never going to be 100% comfortable. It is what it is. But the more that we'll be comfortable in those situations, knowing your right, being armed with your rights, helps you to be more confident in your decision making. I believe.
I mean, but see, when we look at it, first of all, he's a teenager, right?
Correct.
So
correct.
we're dealing with a brain that's not completely developed.
Right.
And so, you know, there may be some trauma there, you know, from prior experiences, or maybe vicarious trauma from things that he's seen maybe through the media and stuff. And so, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable for someone to want to escape a situation, especially if they felt like they've done nothing wrong. But the most disturbing part about that film is, you know, I'm sure the officer could have done something differently. I'm sure if the young man handled it differently. But was when the cavalry, as you put it, kind of when the backup showed up, you know, that could have gone so many different ways.
Absolutely.
And now we're in a different conversation. So
Correct.
if you're talking to someone in the audience, you know, who has a young man in their life, what advice would you give to him, aside from, again, knowing what your rights and it's just a ticket? What you're a father, you got teenagers.
Absolutely. My advice is simply this: aside from understanding and knowing what your rights are, understand what that contact can lead to, and be conscious and aware of that. If you feel like somebody's doing you wrong, right then and there isn't the right place to deal with it. There are other avenues that you can go, which I talk about in the training as well. But you know, and it's not about just. We talked on the phone one time about what's the word? Kind of like cowering and just saying okay. It's not
complying.
Right. But it's not about doing that. It's not about. Well, cooperation is the ultimate goal.
Right.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is, if you're a grown man, you're not going to want to kind of lower your head and deal with someone like you're beneath them. And that's something that needs to be understood on both sides. And I think if that respect is given and reciprocated, it's a great contact. But as a teenager, as I would tell my son, if you're not getting that from an officer, you just take down whatever name, whatever information, and we'll handle it on the back end. But right then and there is not where you want to handle it.
You know, because that's really one of the when we understand the Fourth Amendment, right? You know, search and seizure, and then, you know, some of the case studies, and the Supreme Court, Terry v. and all of this stuff that gives officers the right to make the stops in the context and everything. You know, and that's something, this is like a family conversation. It's like, how do you tell your young son that you can be, you the man, you're gonna be the man, you know, you can be all of the man and be anything you wanna be, except for in this situation, son, nephew, young brother, shrink. You know what I mean? I mean, how do you balance that at home? Because I think people like you who are in your profession who had a duality of law enforcement and a family, only I think you can answer that, because I know I got to have a different conversation with my son, but you've seen it differently. So what advice would you, I'm asking as a father, what would you tell me to do? How should I have this conversation with my 4-year-old son, based on the way that you've had some of your conversations? Right,
and just so I have a full understanding, you're saying, what can I equip my son with to where he doesn't have to cower or shrink in that contact? Is that what you're asking? Okay. Great question. That's the purpose of the training, because I think that our resolve has been, and when I say ours, the African American community resolve has been cower. Just survive. We don't want anything to happen, so cower. Well, I think the flip side of that is when you don't understand what you can and can't do, you don't understand what police can and can't do, that causes you to cower. And also things we see on TV, things that we know have happened. But I believe that when you're equipped with the correct information, not the information we get on CSI and Law and Order, but the correct information and understanding your rights, that will cause you to have the confidence, even if you know you're going to get a ticket. Yes, I'm mad about it, but I do know I don't have to do this, or I don't have to do that, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. I'll take a ticket. No, you can't search my car. And that still gives you a level of dignity.
And so these are some of the things that you're addressing in the training.
Absolutely.
And so it's more empowering.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Let me check in real quick. We got one more segment to get through, and you're watching the Conversation Live. Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. Today we're having a conversation with Milton White Jr., who is a 10-year law enforcement veteran, and Milton does these trainings in different communities, and he's really looking at how to give our young people, and even you, all of us really for that matter, the tools that you need, how to, let's just call it what it is, survive the contact. I mean, that's just where we are with society right now, but you do want to come home. We're gonna pull up this next video because, you know, we often hear from officers, Milton, that, you know, things can go bad real quick. And it's not always the best situation. So I wouldn't want you, my friend, my brother here to say I'm not balanced. So let's take a look at this next video, Jared, and we'll join Milton back on the other side of it.
Can I pat you down? Can you put your hands on the hood here? Thank you. Relax. Don't this any more than you do, okay? Go place your hands behind your back. What? Stay. Place your hands. I got him. Keep the taser on. Stop resisting! Keep the gun! Alright, be my ass. Get the f*** on your back!
Welcome back. Wow, a DUI, traffic stop.
Yeah.
Turns into 2 officers getting shot.
Yeah.
So it goes bad real quickly, or it can go bad real quickly.
Absolutely.
From an officer standpoint, what happened in that situation?
A lot of things happen. I hate to Monday morning quarterback.
Oh, we do it all day after Sunday, watching,
Yeah,
watching the game.
He zigged when he should have zagged. But, well, there's a lot of different training points that can be addressed. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? There's a lot of different training points that can be addressed in that video. The importance of it is understanding that just like citizens, African Americans specifically, we have fears going into traffic stops and contacts with the police. Police also have the same thing. And that's kind of what we bring up at these town hall meetings that we both attended. And that's I kind of wanted to break away from that, because the reality is we're dealing with humans. So in dealing with humans, things are going to happen. Unfortunately, this won't be the last time this happens, unfortunately. And Philando Castile, unfortunately, hopefully, but it probably won't be the last time that happens. So what can we do to change it? How can we empower ourselves so that we can make these contacts better, so that we can survive these contacts?
All right, we're coming short on time. My last question to you is, what can you do?
Me personally.
From the inside.
I believe grabbing whatever knowledge, whatever I'm trained, whatever I learn on the inside, and giving valuable information to the public. At the end of the day, I'm a public servant, so that means I am of service to you. That's my job. So how can I service you? What can I do? Do I want to keep you ignorant? Do I want to keep you, no, I'm not saying you're ignorant, but when I say that, do I want to, because they don't teach any of this in schools. They don't teach this, in grade school, which they should. The kid was in high school. It'd be great to have a constitution class, or, but they don't. And so one of the ways that I believe that I can help is by giving the information to those who want it, and making myself an open book, and also holding people accountable that are around me.
I think that latter part is the most important part. That if you, police often tell us, if you see something, say something.
Right.
Well, I'm punt that right back over to you. If you see something, I damn well expect you better say something.
Yeah.
Man, my guest today has been Milton White. Milton, man, thank you so much, brother.
Absolutely.
Man. I mean, you and your family, beautiful family, thank you so much for your commitment and your willingness to serve us and protect us, and every now and then let me talk a little crap to you.
Yeah.
Again, you're watching the Conversation Live. I'm your host, James Farr. My guest today was Milton White Jr. He's a 10-year law enforcement veteran, and we had a critical and uncomfortable conversation about knowing your rights. Until we have another opportunity to speak with you, as always, agape. The Conversation Live is brought to you by